Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning, and I'm glad that you joined us this morning. We have a lot to cover. There's not going to be a lot of segues this morning because we just have so many various topics. One major topic, of course, Governor Hochul's budget for the state of New York. We'll be talking about that. We'll hear statements from Assemblyman Phil Palmisano and Assemblyman Joe Sempolinski later on in the broadcast. Also, during this morning's show, we're going to hear from Sammy Sadler. He's got a new single coming out. He's got an amazing story. He's got a book called A Hit with a Bullet. And it's his autobiography and the life that he lived for quite a long period of time. You're not going to want to miss this interview. A fascinating interview. That's coming up a little bit later on. Let's first start with viewer comments. This came in yesterday saying, hello, Frank. Well, hello. I feel foolish sending this, knowing that I'm seeing this chatter that you and our congressman must be aware of. But I just feel it's my duty to share for our Market Street office. I think it's closed anyway as he's doing virtual town halls. Just an FYI. Yes, what it was, and it was actually yesterday, and I appreciate you sending this. They had sent a Facebook post, and the Facebook post, I'm not going to say looted this. We talked about it quickly. There was an actress that was starting this campaign. I wasn't familiar with the actress, and that's not to demean her. I can't give you any information other than I know she was an actress. And the idea was they were going to walk into congressional offices and demand, well, let me quote this one post. At 2 yesterday, they started a walkout, whether you were at work, school, whatever the case, a walkout. Then at 3, and it says here, Congress has the power to remove a tyrant from office. It's not an option. It's their sworn duty. So at 3 p.m., we'll start walking into local congressional offices to demand impeachment and removal. We are peacefully demanding that our representatives file their own articles of impeachment against Trump and senior Trump officials. So, yes, that did happen yesterday. I drove by the Corning office. I left here probably around 2:30. I'll say, well, if you prop up the numbers because the media was there, I would say 20, 25 people in front of the congressional office here on Market Street. Various array of signs, quite a few using the term tyrant, but various issues. Some were kind of the anti-Israel, pro-Hamas message. Some just kind of niche issues that they have with Trump and Congress. So kind of a hodgepodge of various reasons that they were upset with the president of the United States and the congressman. Well, according to Fox News, thousands of people across the country flooded the streets in a mass walkout protesting immigration and customs enforcement. So this was, and there was some anti-ICE protests right here on Market Street as well. Don't get me wrong. But in this case, because remember, yesterday was the anniversary, the one-year anniversary of Trump's inauguration for his second term. That's why they were the protests, if you're wondering the significance of the date. So in this case, it was to, and there was other issues, but originally to protest ICE. The walkout, dubbed the Free America Walkout, is spearheaded by, remember this group, the Women's March. They were the ones that first mobilized like the day after Trump was sworn in. I think there was protests in Washington. According to its website, organizers urge people to walk out of schools, workplaces, and businesses around 2 p.m. local time as part of the Free America movement with the aim to withhold our, quote, to withhold our labor, our participation, and our consent. Videos of the scene captured dozens of protesters converging in major metropolitan areas such as Atlanta, New York City, Minneapolis, and Washington. In some areas, high school students walked out of school during snowy conditions, exercising their political voice despite being too young to vote. Now, again, there was the subsect, if you will, of this group that was calling for you to kind of storm the offices of your congressman, no matter, I think, what the party, to demand the impeachment and the ouster of President Donald J. Trump. Again, they say it's for ICE, but we've got like this sign, no U.S. war on Venezuela. I see another sign in the background, workers over billionaires, no cuts, no raids, no war. Now, they were largely orderly and peaceful. In New York City, for example, demonstrators marched into the area outside Trump Tower, chanting slogans and holding signs calling for changes to federal policy. Organizers accused the Trump administration of being, you guessed it, fascist. By the way, I have, and we're going to go through them quickly, but I have about 5 or 6 articles this morning. They're putting on the mad dash of trying to suggest that the president is mentally not stable. They're trying to question if he should be in office. Again, the same organizations mysteriously quiet for 4 years as we saw the mental and physical decline of President Biden. Now everyone's a health expert. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. It's important, I think, you know where their line of attack is coming, because that line of attack can change really day by day, week by week, as we near midterm. Organizers accuse the Trump administration of, as I said, being fascist. Quote, 1 year into Trump's second regime, nice language there, we face an escalating fascist threat. ICE raids on our communities, troops occupying our cities, families torn apart, attacks on our trans siblings, mass surveillance and terror used to keep us silent. It is time for our communities to escalate as well. The organizer of the protest said that holding the walkout on a weekday allows the demonstration to have a greater impact by disrupting the normal routine of schools, workplaces, and public life. Quote, a walkout interrupts business as usual. It makes visible how much our labor, participation, and cooperation are taken for granted, and what happens when we withdraw them together. Interesting, when they start talking about labor and these type of things, you know it has a socialist tint to it, because it has obviously an underlining agenda, not just about ICE. So there you are. That, thank you. But by the way, always don't ever feel foolish about sending something like that. That's very important to get the message out. That was after the fact, though I do appreciate it. So it gave me an opportunity to highlight that. There were some walkouts. Again, it doesn't surprise me here on Market Street. There's a protest every Monday. Sometimes I remember back in around Easter, there was 2 to 3 a week. As the weather breaks, I'm sure we'll see more. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Good morning. Has our local government, i.e. Langworthy, Palmisano, upstate mayors, and so forth, considered that since Wall Street is leaving New York State and no business owner in their right mind would locate here, the list of negatives goes on, given that one-party communistic stranglehold of Albany and downstate, and I'm going to continue to read their point, this viewer's point, but just kind of interesting. According to a best and worst state list by Wallet Hub, a study, the best and worst states to start a business, I would disagree with this because they have New York at 41. I would say it would be closer to 50, but yes, worst states to start a business at number 41, New York. So going back to what the viewer had to say, we, all of us New York State residents, are heading for disaster towards dire consequences. So here's the idea. Given the above and knowing that we are in upstate New York, are literally sitting on a fracking gold mine, as well as a potential industrial boon, should we become independent of downstate and form a new Republican-led state in order to take advantage of our resources, including farming and economic opportunities? Upstate would prosper and would survive. We don't need downstate. Downstate presently needs us more than we need them. Thank you for that. I hope you get the idea, and we'll pass it along to those who can make decisions about our future here in upstate. Now, I know I've talked about this with Phil Palmisano in the past. I've talked about, especially in the radio days, this had a really kind of strong push for a while of kind of dividing the state. There's various options. There was some, if I recall at the time, because it's been a little while, I think there was some kind of intergroup maneuvering that ended up hurting the cause, where someone wanted to be a leader more than this person, and this person wanted to be the leader, kind of a little bit what happened with the Tea Party. So I haven't heard a lot about those movements, but there's always talks of dividing the state. The problem is, going back to your point about one-party rule, it never gets off the ground. When you have Democrats completely running Albany, there's no appetite from those Democrats to, as you said, get rid of upstate, because they do need us. So that's the biggest hurdle, and I know there's ways to constitutional amendments, but again, when you have one-party rule, it never seems to get off the ground. I'm more than happy to share your thoughts with any of our local representatives on the program. And we talked about this quite a bit yesterday. There is, especially when things look so dire for the state, and we see this budget and just spending like mad, I do understand that the people of New York State, especially here in upstate, would love to see that divide. I just, being realistic, not kind of poo-pooing the idea, but being realistic, it is a very difficult uphill battle. Some would say nearly impossible. But again, I will pass it along, and I'm not sounding jaded. I'm just being as realistic as I can be. Comment from Mark. Well, good morning, Mark. I was watching Trump's speech, and he was showing pics of the thugs and criminals taken out of Minnesota. And he said that they have taken over 10,000 criminals out of Minnesota. Pardon me, Minnesota, that's a lot. And on a good note, Vice President Vance's wife is pregnant with a baby boy. Yes, Mark, you took away my press statement that I received yesterday, but no, I'm glad you did. A statement from the Vice President, J.D. Vance, and Second Lady, Usha Vance. Quote, we are very excited to share the news that Usha is pregnant with our fourth child, a boy. Usha and the baby are doing well, and we are all looking forward to welcoming him in late July. During this exciting and hectic time, we are particularly grateful for the military doctors who take excellent care of our family and for the staff members who do so much to ensure that we can serve the country while enjoying a wonderful life with our children. What a nice statement, and congratulations to the Vance family. Their fourth edition, a little baby boy coming in July. How nice. Yes, starting on a good note. Also, this is breaking news, but everything is fine. This came out in late last night. Air Force One was forced to turn around when Trump was on his way to Davos, but it was a minor issue, and he is back on track. It was a minor electrical issue and was forced to return to Maryland shortly after the president took off for Switzerland. The issue was identified by the crew after takeoff to Davos, where Trump is slated to deliver a keynote speech to European leaders. We're going to talk about that, kind of the international side of things, a little bit later on. Air Force One did land at Joint Base Andrews in Maryland, where Trump will board a new plane, according to Carolyn Levitt. Levitt also joked to reporters that flying aboard a Qatari jet sounded much better right now. Oh, you know what we talk about? You forget about some of these scandals and all the things that so many on the left and kind of the people that are anti-Trump would bring up constantly. That was one of them. You know, we had Gulf of America and things that just outraged them. I almost forgot about the Qatari jet. So Levitt's saying the Qatari jet sounded much better right now. All right. So he is back on track to head to Davos. All right, a quick question before we go to break, and then we've got some other breaking stories. As I said, some of these are updates from stories we've had throughout the last couple weeks. A lot of these we cannot segue to. We have to move very fast this morning because not only do we have a guest, we also want to talk about the New York State budget in depth, and we also have things that we just cannot ignore on the international front, the media attacking Trump. But I want to end this segment asking you the question, because I know we have a lot of Bills fans, and we've talked about, obviously, the firing of McDermott. We talked about the horrible officiating on Saturday. There's an opinion piece at Sports Illustrated, and I'd just like to hear your thoughts. And I know we don't talk much sports here, but Terry Pegula is tarnishing the legacy of the Bills as the Bills owner mishandled the head coach firing. Terry Pegula has done plenty of good for the city of Buffalo, but as time has passed, his ownership has grown toxic. He has had the Bills' success to hide behind these past few years, much of which has been thanks to others, not his own savviness. And while it may have been the right time to make a change, the franchise is now without one of its cornerstones, former head coach Sean McDermott, who was fired on Monday in shameful fashion by the organization for which he poured his guts out. And after dismissing McDermott in despicable fashion, Pegula is one bad hire away from completely destroying his once promising legacy as owner of Buffalo sports conglomerate. McDermott saved the Bills organization from years of futility, and judging based on Pegula's dealings with other franchises, like the Sabres, one of the worst teams in the league over the past decade and a half, his track record of hiring head coaches is an embarrassment. So your thoughts on this? I'm not just trying to pile on here. But again, I know we have so many Bills fans, and maybe some of you were happy with McDermott being ousted. The Bills owner has to nail this upcoming coaching hire. If he fails, there will be a stain left on his tenure that won't be so easy to wash away, and the fan base will never forgive him. Your thoughts on that? When we come back into politics. We are running late. I know it. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
You don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
Did you know that children growing up with poor air quality have smaller lungs and higher rates of asthma than children that grow up with good air quality? And unfortunately, poor communities have poor air quality. IQ Air Foundation is working to change this. Today, the IQ Air Foundation provides filtration technology to schools with poor air quality through our Clean Air for Kids program. Our goal is to help over 50,000 school children every year breathe over 90% cleaner air indoors, helping to level the playing field, reduce barriers to learning, reduce sick days, and increase test scores. Mitigating poor air quality is key to environmental justice. Help Clean Air for Kids reach more children at iqairfoundation.org.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. A comment from a viewer in regards to the division of New York State, meaning splitting it up into at least two different, and some have three autonomous zones, but two different states. This viewer says, now is the best time to become an independent state apart from the Democratic rim that surrounds us, i.e. New York City, Buffalo, etc., while President Trump is in office. So those jerks that are putting themselves forward to become the leader should be thinking instead of their constituents, instead of themselves. Again, like I said in my earlier text, let's get it on the county ballots and move forward. I'm sorry, I missed your part about the county ballots. It's not, so that was a while ago, and I wouldn't necessarily call them jerks. It was just people kind of jockeying to be the leader of the Divide New York. And the problem was there was 2 or 3 or 4 different groups, each with a different leader, and none could come to an agreement. So I think that they were doing it in people's best interests, thinking that they could be the ones that would be successful. It just helped divide the Divide movement. It helped create problems within that movement. And since that time, just on the peripheral, I have not seen as much conversation about it until this week. Okay, quickly. Trump-appointed prosecutor Lindsay Halligan is leaving her post as the U.S. attorney after her months-long tenure. Halligan's departure from the role of interim United States attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia came as multiple judges were casting doubt on her ability to legally remain in the job following a court ruling 2 months ago that said her appointment was illegal. Anyway, there is your update. Okay, also another update. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer revealed that he had rejected what he called a ridiculous offer from Bill and Hillary Clinton for an unofficial interview regarding the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Now remember, their excuse for not being involved and not testifying at the Jeffrey Epstein investigation was that they were fighting for this country. That was their argument. That's why they didn't want to talk about their ties and their connections to Epstein, because they were fighting for their country. So then they said, well, now that we're done fighting for our country, I suppose, we'll do an unofficial interview. Comer stated that the latest demands by the Clintons made clear that they believe their last name entitles them to special treatment. He criticized former President Bill Clinton for having a documented history of parsing language to evade questions, that's for sure. Facing contempt of Congress, the Clintons' lawyers made an untenable offer that I travel to New York for a conversation with President Clinton only. No official transcript would be recorded, and other members of Congress would be barred from participating. I have rejected the Clintons' ridiculous offer. The Clintons' latest demand made clear they believe their last name entitles them to special treatment. The House Oversight Committee's bipartisan subpoenas require the Clintons to appear for deposition that are under oath and transcribed. Former President Clinton has a documented history of parsing language to evade questions, responding falsely under oath, and was impeached and suspended from the practice of law as a result. The absence of an official transcript is an indefensible demand that is insulting to the American people who demand answers about Epstein's crime. As part of our investigation, the House Oversight Committee has released transcripts of interviews with former U.S. Attorney General Bill Barr and former U.S. Secretary of Labor Alex Acosta, which has provided much-needed transparency to the public. Without a formal record, Americans would be left to rely on competing accounts of what was said. Former Secretary Clinton's on-the-record testimony is necessary for the committee's investigation, given her knowledge from her time as Secretary of State of the federal government's work to counter international sex trafficking rings, her personal knowledge of Ms. Maxwell, and her family's relationship with Mr. Epstein. Contempt proceedings begin tomorrow, which would be today. He also dared Democrats to advance Clinton contempt of Congress resolution or be exposed as hypocrites. The committee does not take this action lightly, said Comer. But subpoenas are not mere suggestions. They carry the force of law and require compliance. Former President Clinton and Secretary Clinton were legally required to appear for deposition before the committee. They refused. He argued the committee acted in good faith in trying to schedule the deposition, but the actions have consequences. We've offered flexibility on scheduling. The response we received was non-cooperation, but defiance, marked by repeated delays, excuses, and obstruction. Today, the Clintons must be held accountable for their action, and Democrats must support these measures or they will be exposed as hypocrites. And he's exactly right. I don't think that's something that they lose sleep over, being exposed as hypocrites. I don't have any delusions that they're going to vote against the Clintons on this. I think they will vote to support the Clintons and not find them in contempt. That is my thoughts on it. Time will tell. If they pass, which they're expected to do largely along party lines, it will pave the way for the full House to vote on whether to refer the Clintons to the Department of Justice for prosecution. So with the numbers, there's enough Republicans. But I don't see, because let me kind of rewind on what I was saying, I don't see Democrats voting to hold them in contempt, even though the numbers are already there for them to be held in contempt. Comer saying, we must do what is necessary to uphold Congress's investigative authority, which is imperative to the legislative process. And we are doing so to demonstrate to the American people that justice is applied equally to everyone, regardless of position, pedigree, or prestige. All right, there we go. Oh, by the way, we have so much to get to. Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu has agreed to join Trump's Board of Peace for Gaza. The board, chaired by Trump, was originally just a small group of world leaders overseeing the Gaza ceasefire plan. The Trump administration's ambitions have broadened into a more sprawling concept, with Trump extending invitations to dozens of nations and hinting it will soon broker global conflicts. Now, I know there's some controversy because I guess Putin was invited. But Benjamin Netanyahu has agreed to join the Board of Peace. Let's take a break. I see some comments, some waves coming in. By the way, before it gets close to 7 o'clock, everybody wishes you good luck today, Jack, with your hip replacement surgery. Telling us about it yesterday. So I know you're watching on your way into the doctor's office. So good luck today. We'll be thinking about you. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Young's Tires at 909 Chemung Street in Horseheads is the area's most trusted automotive repair facility. Check engine light on? Visit Young's Tires for a complete diagnostic check. Trust Young's Tires for complete repair, including tires, suspension, brakes, and more. For over 50 years, Young's Tires in Horseheads has been your trusted automotive repair shop. Whether you're an off-roader looking for a suspension upgrade or you want to get your star player to the game, trust the team at Young's Tires.
Having a safe home is essential to many aspects of our lives. From a sense of community and safety, to physical and mental health, to economic security and independence. Most homes in our communities are not accessible and are not designed to accommodate the changes that come with age, including the risk of falling. The Older Adults Home Modification Program helps reduce the risk of falls, improves safety, and increases accessibility and independence. Through this program, Rebuilding Together works with older adults to provide no-cost preventative home repairs so our neighbors can safely age in place in the homes and communities they love. To learn more, visit rebuildingtogether.org/safeathome.
Dear Coach.
Dear Coach, they don't teach you that inner strength is the most important kind of strong, but you taught me that.
They don't teach you how to build confidence in yourself or how to deal with all the pressures all at once, but you taught me that.
First tee was more than golf. It's where I discovered what I'm capable of.
You didn't just prepare me for 18 holes. You were preparing me for every day of my life. Learn more at firsttee.org.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Great news, by the way, before we talk about ICE and the protests, and we're going to talk about a couple of other issues before we get to the New York State budget. This is great news. The U.S. drug overdose deaths have plummeted 20% as Trump administration cracks down on the southern border, and we've had the attacks on the drug boats in Venezuela. The fall begins at the end of the Biden administration, but the question is, was it in anticipation of the tough-on-crime president coming in? Said a retired NYPD sergeant. Either way, I mean, way to put that in there. But securing the borders has a lot to do with the drop. Less chance for drug dealers and their mules to bring drugs into the country. So great news, drug overdose deaths plummeting 20% in the United States since Trump took office. Okay, I'm sorry. Hey, here's a nice comment. Jack said he's going to go in a little bit later than I originally thought, so he's going to get to watch the full show. But a comment from a viewer. Good luck, Jack. Don't worry, they know what they're doing these days. So there you go, Jack. I'm glad you get to watch the whole program. I apologize. I didn't get a chance to mention this yesterday because I was not aware. We'd like to keep you up on only the best guests The View has to offer so that you can watch it. Whether it's Marjorie Taylor Greene or yesterday, one Zohran Mamdani, mayor of New York City, visiting The View in what can only be considered a gushing interview. During his talk with the ladies at The View, the socialist mayor wants ICE abolished. He says he doesn't see federal immigration and customs enforcement agents doing anything to help public safety. Quote, I am in support of abolishing ICE. Now, what's interesting, we had a piece yesterday, and we didn't really get a chance to cover the whole article, but I did get to kind of do a brief gist of it, which was Democrats are kind of, and it was from a liberal op-ed person who said, essentially, the Democrats are falling into the trap of defunding the police, meaning they abolishing ICE. Now, they can show you polls that show people don't support our law enforcement, our ICE agents. It's just not the case. When you start calling for the abolishment of ICE, remember, that was a major issue that Trump ran on, which was immigration enforcement, going after the illegal immigrants in this country, and that was a successful campaign platform for him. So again, are they falling into this trap like they did a few years ago of defunding the police that backfired so greatly on them? Is abolishing ICE that same type of platform? So Zohran Mamdani said, I'm in support of abolishing ICE. What we see is an entity that has no interest in fulfilling its stated reasons to exist. He claimed deportation raids would rip the Big Apple apart. We are talking about people whose crime simply seems to be being in New York City. If they make good on this threat, that would rip the civic fabric of the city apart. The interview came one day after co-host Whoopi Goldberg railed against Trump on Martin Luther King Day hitting him over comments to the New York Times where he had said white people, quote, were very badly treated after the Civil Rights Act. Why am I going through what Whoopi said a day later? I wanted to just go through what Mamdani said. Mamdani also used his time on air to double down on calling the shooting of Renee Good by an ICE agent murder and making it clear he would uphold the city's sanctuary city laws in the face of threats of funding cuts from the Trump administration. What I've said is that our values and our laws, they're not bargaining chips. He also, well, the Post editorial board says, what we see is an entity that has no interest in fulfilling its stated reason to exist. That's the mayor in reference to ICE. That's why he wants to abolish ICE. Somehow none of the crack policy analysts on The View sought to ask him what federal immigration and customs enforcement is meant to. Hand it to the mayor. He knows how to preach to his fangirls. Problem is, the agency's reason to exist is find, arrest, and deport criminal illegal immigrants, rapists, murderers, pedophiles, drug dealers, and other heinous individuals. Sadly, a lot of them waved into the U.S. Interior by the Biden administration, and now getting them out is a major public safety priority. Yet somehow Mamdani and the rest of the American left have rushed right back into their abolish ICE battle cry of the pre-Biden years. They still demand open borders, still insist illegal immigration is a violation of U.S. law, isn't a crime. Hence, he pretends enforcement is all about people whose crimes simply seem to be being in New York City. In reality, if local politicians would cooperate as ICE goes after the worst of the worst, it wouldn't be out in the neighborhoods where more Pacific illegal migrants live. But the new mayor has gone so far as to toss his predecessor's order that let Homeland Security and other federal law enforcement monitor TDA, that violent gang, and other gangs at Rikers. That is, he's protecting the worst guys while pretending to care for other immigrants that the gangs prey on. Homeland Security has listed 7,000 illegal immigrant gangbangers it's expelled this last year. It might have been twice or three times as much if blue state leaders weren't at war with the feds and with law enforcement. Fine, you can fault Team Trump's leaders for seeming to want to play the cartoon villain roles that the left assigns, but that doesn't make ICE's work any less vital for protecting the public. Even now, the agency's behaving in red states pretty much as it did under Barack Obama, when the left whined about such law enforcement but didn't pretend it amounted to a fascist night falling on America. It's the anti-ICE lunatics who are causing chaos, with every intent to make it worse. They're saying in Minneapolis that it's very reminiscent of during COVID when there was the rioting and the looting at stores at points during protests, but also people not going into stores because of the intimidation by anti-ICE protesters. We may talk about that a little bit later on. Mamdani's preaching to Whoopi and the girls is a tactic sign he wants needless violence on New York City streets, and that's what we've seen, the fanning of the flames. From now Mamdani, but from Mayor Frey, from Tim Walz. Also, just quickly, I don't want to talk anything more because I know I just jokingly talk about The View here, but Mamdani was on The View. He was kind of, he was asked, it wasn't like they asked him a tough question in a way to gotcha. No, he was asked about his aides who disparaged white women. Zohran Mamdani unloaded some verbal acrobatics, to avoid criticizing two close aides who disparaged liberal white women and called home ownership a tool of white supremacy on social media. Alyssa Farah Griffin asked the socialist mayor about now deleted comments from Chief Equity Officer Afua Adamanasha, whose radical statements included, quote, "There's no moderate way to black liberation," and Office to Protect Tenants C. Weaver, who called to seize private property. Griffin asked, your new chief equity officer made several now deleted comments disparaging liberal white women. Your tenant advocate said that home ownership was a weapon of white supremacy and called to elect more communists, among other posts. What message do you think this conveys to New Yorkers, and how would you push back on this? This is what Mamdani said. He made it about himself. If you want to know my views or my opinions, you'll find them in my words. As the mayor of New York City, and I'm someone who's looking to make a city that every New Yorker can afford. And I think, frankly, what New Yorkers are also looking for are the outcomes. And that's what I care about, the outcomes and the excellence we deliver. He claimed in 20 days since Weaver's hiring, the city has taken on landlords that had more violations than I can count, and we have had secured $30 million in guaranteed repairs for thousands of those violations. He also attempted to reassure homeowners in his rambling response, adding that his goal for a city that everyone can afford includes tenants, homeowners, and those who aspire to be homeowners. That's interesting. So he makes it about himself, does not directly answer the question, but of course he is the one that chose those people for those offices. So just wanted to mention that quickly. All right, we're going to talk about international issues when we come back. Greenland, Davos. Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom may be wearing out his welcome when it comes to the attacks on Trump. Not completely, but he's getting a little heavy-handed with it. So we may talk about that, and then that's going to lead into the attacks on the president by the media. Just quickly, those are going to be basically reading headlines, but I think it's important for you to see, just because we all have to be aware of the direction they're headed as we near the midterm. Which avenue are they going to go down? I didn't think they'd go the health issue, only because, look at yesterday, President Trump held a nearly 2-hour press conference. 2 hours. I mean, I don't know mathematically how much, minute-wise, Biden did in his whole 4 years. Yes, probably more than 2 hours, but not much more. And that's one day in the life of Trump. But they're going, after 4 years of ignoring Biden's mental health and mental decline, telling us nothing to see here and that you're a bad guy if you even bring it up, to now laser-like focused on President Trump. I don't think that's a winning strategy on their part. I also think it shows their hypocrisy, and it helps the media lose even more credibility that's almost non-existent as it is because of their coverage of Biden as compared to Trump. Their argument is, well, you guys are mad at us for not covering Biden and his mental health problems, so we're going to focus on Trump and his health. That's their argument. But we'll talk about that a little bit later on. And, of course, the New York State budget. We're going to be talking with Sammy Sadler, who has a new single out called I Can't Get Close Enough, which is that great Exile tune. We're going to talk to him about that and his book, A Hit with a Bullet. You're going to want to hear that. You may recall the story of his life. It's been on numerous TV shows. One I remember from way back in the day, Unsolved Mysteries, and others about a murder on Music Row in Nashville. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and Horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
It's the home of creativity. Release your inner audio engineer. Create with the 3D printer. Make your clothing ideas come together with our sewing machine rentals. Or come to the library event nights to chat with those within your community. All with your library card. Go to your local library today.
I don't know if the world knows this, but kids are expensive. And when we found out we were pregnant, of course, we were looking for any ways to slash bills.
And making sure we only had what we needed so that everything was less stressful.
And saving money with our internet bill really helped us out a lot. Came to Spectrum because we were with AT&T before, and Spectrum just had a better deal.
That money we saved with Spectrum just added to what we could repurpose for our daughter.
Real customers, real savings. To see how much you can save, visit spectrum.com/save.
You can just keep watching and scrolling, and the world will still feel like it's falling apart.
Widespread misalignment. Highest hospitalization.
Or you can take action by joining a movement that's creating real and lasting change instead. Partnering with communities around the globe to help uproot poverty and plant seeds of hope for a brighter tomorrow. Because at World Vision, we believe that no situation is hopeless. Join a movement that's changing the world for good.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Comment from a viewer. Did you see the astounding astounding number of dollars that are being handed out to illegal migrants. California is number 1 and hands out over $1 trillion. New York is number 2 and weighs very close to $1 trillion. I have not seen the specific numbers, but thanks for passing that along. By the way, thanks to everybody sending in so many waves and comments this morning. Keep them coming in. Okay. Well, we've been talking about the recent uptick in cussing by leaders. A Danish lawmaker yesterday was reprimanded after, especially with what's going on with Greenland and everything. I don't think this is the best move by this Danish lawmaker, but he said, "Dear President Trump, listen very carefully. Greenland has been part of the Danish kingdom for 800 years. It is an integrated country. It is not for sale." This is European Parliament member Anders Wittesen. Let me put this into words you might understand. Mr. President, blank off. There was consequences, supposedly, threats of consequences, where the speaker, after saying, if the translation was correct, the term you used is not allowed in this house, and there will be consequences to the message you have used. It is not okay in the House of Democracy. Regardless of what we think about Mr. Trump, it is not possible to use such language. Okay. Now, Trump teases how far he'll go to acquire Greenland at that White House press briefing. Again, the press briefing lasting nearly 2 hours. They asked, how far are you willing to go, Mr. President? You'll find out, he said tersely. We have a lot of meetings scheduled on Greenland. That means at Davos. And I think things are going to work out pretty well. I think something's going to happen that's going to be very good for everybody. Nobody's done more for NATO than I have. We'll work something out where NATO is going to be very happy and we're going to be very happy, but we need it for security purposes. We need it for national security and even world security. It is very important. I guess it was NATO's poorly executed military scoping mission in Greenland that outraged Trump and led to the threats on tariffs. It was the deployment of European troops to Greenland over the weekend for military exercises that some government officials believe may have escalated tensions between the U.S. and Europe. The sudden flurry of European military activity in Greenland, part of a reconnaissance mission ahead of future NATO exercises, baffled Washington and provoked Trump to threaten tariffs on the nation putting boots on the ground of the Arctic island. This coming from the Times of London. One government advisor in a European country told the Times, "I couldn't understand the PR part of the deployment. That does not at all excuse Trump, but I think it enabled some of his vicinity to escalate the issue." Vicinity? Some in his vicinity to escalate the issue. Trump may have interpreted the troop deployments as a gesture of hostility, according to the outlet, and it doesn't appear the nations involved considered whether the president would take it as provocation. The hastily arranged scoping mission started coming together last Wednesday when Denmark, which administers Greenland as an autonomous territory, ominously announced that it would expand its troop presence on the island because geopolitical tensions have spread to the Arctic. Anyway, you get the idea. Now, we were told that they are all drawing up plans for an invasion of Greenland. We had that story for you earlier this week. Now, the New York Times admitting the Pentagon hasn't yet been asked to plan Greenland invasion amid Trump's threats. Pentagon officials plan for all sorts of military contingencies, but they have not yet been asked to draw up invasions of Greenland or the aftermath of such an operation. Boy, that's crazy. I thought we had heard the complete opposite of this. Again, time and time again, losing credibility in the media because they're so quick to knee-jerk. If something looks bad about Trump, or they could paint him as some type of tyrant or dictator, they will do that, shoot first and ask questions later, and put that piece out. Then, much to their embarrassment, very often it is proven to be false. Stephen Collinson at CNN, and before we get into the attacks on the president, because of the press conference, 2-hour press conference, most transparent president, arguably in history, and there's criticism of the press conference. We're going to tell you about that. But Trump's Davos hosts, according to Stephen Collinson, might abhor him, might abhor Trump, but he's worth listening to. Dean Acheson, the revered U.S. diplomat, described his role as an architect of the post-World War II world in a blockbuster memoir called Present at the Creation. President Trump's audience in the Swiss alpine town of Davos may wonder if they are present at the destruction. Wow, good job. Good job, Stephen Collinson. Never before has a president crossed the Atlantic after threatening to seize a chunk of European sovereign territory over the wishes of its people. Trump's Greenland power grab may already have damaged NATO, the world's most successful military alliance, beyond repair. His apathy for values the U.S. used to share with Europe, like international law, risks another fracture. And U.S. leaders rarely warm up for such trips by blasting a British prime minister for, quote, an act of great stupidity or dissing a French president as a lame duck. It's not good manners either for a guest to mock Europe as weak, as Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent did over the weekend, or for a White House to write national security strategies that advocate replacing sitting governments with far-right extremist parties. But Trump and his subordinates have done all this and more in a streak of aggression fueled by their sense of unrestrained personal and national power. Well, you get the idea. But anyway, and we've got so many more examples of this in the media, and Gavin Newsom calling leaders pathetic, that they need to confront Trump. He was at Davos. Gavin Newsom, we're told over and over again that he is the front runner for the Democrat Party in 2028. He has made kind of a name for himself by trying to be an attack dog on Trump. He called global leaders pathetic for failing to challenge Trump. I can't take this complicity of people rolling over. Ooh, you can't? Wow, the leaders must be quaking in their boots. I can't take this complicity of people rolling over. I should have brought a bunch of knee pads for all the world leaders. I mean, handing out crowns and Nobel Prizes that are being given away, it's just pathetic. And I hope people understand how pathetic they look on the world stage. So is he calling Mikado, the Nobel Peace Prize winner, pathetic? Is that what I'm understanding from Governor Newsom? I mean, handing out crowns, the Nobel Prizes that are being given away. So he calls the opposition leader, in a way, Mikado from Venezuela, pathetic. Okay, Gavin Newsom. Interesting. He continued, Trump is a T-Rex. You mate with him or he devours you, one or the other, and you need to stand up to him. He told Europeans to stay tall and united. We're going to tell you what some people had to say about that. I think it's... Again, I think he's getting a little too big for his britches. He's trying a little bit too hard. He found what he thought was his niche, and now it's coming off very heavy-handed. We can talk more about that when we return. We've got a lot of comments, a lot of waves coming in. Stay with us. We'll go through some media hits on Trump. Then we've got to get to probably in the next hour after we talk with Sammy Sadler. We'll talk about the New York State budget. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Sophia A., grade 4, absent, because transportation was absent.
Julio M., grade 6, absent, because Wi-Fi was absent.
Maria J., grade 12, absent, because childcare for siblings was absent.
Jacob O., grade 12, absent, because housing was absent.
Aisha S.,
Olivia H.,
Darren L.,
Cole W.,
Preston L., absent.
absent,
absent,
because healthcare, anti-bullying,
Mental health support was absent.
We're calling roll on the 15 million absent students.
Their reasons why are very real.
And yet the solution is a present, caring adult to help them along their path.
When communities and schools is present, 99% of our students are present and ready to learn.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Comment from a viewer. The Danish idiot doesn't know President Trump very well, does he? I think the president will, as a result, double down on Greenland. This is in reference to the one Greenland leader who used some choice language to tell President Trump to get out of there. In addition, tell the idiot to get out of here and clean up his foul mouth. Thank you very much. All right, buckle up for this next comment. This is a doozy. Greenland's #1 industry is fishing. So do you think President Trump is trying to get Greenland just for the halibut? That's a good one to almost kick off the 7 o'clock hour. I like that one. Just for the halibut. Sounds about right. We're talking about Gavin Newsom. Good one. I like that one. Gavin Newsom's kind of outwearing his welcome a little bit. Rather than play statesman on the world stage, says the Post editorial board, Gavin Newsom brought his troll act to Davos and it bombed. And that's really what it's become. It's an act where he tries to emulate Trump, where he tries to kind of copy his cadence and tweets. It took off for a while. Now it's falling flat. But as the Post said, Trump is alienating our allies through his boorish rhetoric. That's what Democrats routinely scream. Yet Newsom opted to be at least as boorish, slamming foreign leaders for being too polite to Trump in the crudest language possible. I can't take this complicity, people rolling over. I should have brought a bunch of knee pads for all the world leaders. He has used that line before, degrading knee pads line before, bashing Republicans who defer to the president. Used it because it works among partisan Democrats. And remember, he has to go far left because in the primary, it's going to be the Democrats that vote. It's not, then, that's why they run as kind of the far left Democrats. They win the primary, and then they try to pretend and tell you that they're moderates, which they're not. Keep in mind, the governor even boasted of raising a fortune by selling knee pads on his campaign website. That is how that has become a cliche term. We're not going to get into the details of what that means. I think you all are adults and you have an understanding of why it is so degrading and so demeaning. But it's no kind of diplomacy, not even Trump, who once made fun of Kim Jong-un's... I don't want to go through all this anyway. Anyway, as the saying goes, act like you've been there before. The governor instead looked like he had no clue. Indeed, Newsom seemed disappointed his shtick didn't make him the hero of Davos. Attacking our nation's president on foreign soil utterly trashes the traditional rule that politics ends at the water's edge. But Gavin's gaffes went well beyond that. He went to Davos determined to use that elitist venue to undermine Trump. Instead, he made himself a fool in the world leaders' eyes. Surely plenty of presidents and prime ministers dislike or even detest Trump, but others admire him, and they all have to deal with him and with the American people who elected him. They can't afford that kind of cheap posturing that scores big in deep blue states like California. The Democrats who insist Trump is an overseas disaster ought to be easily able to outdo him when it comes to diplomacy. Yet Newsom just failed his first big test. And that pathetic first impression won't be forgotten. Also, he did the people of California no favors either. He likes to boast that his state has the world's 4th largest economy, which should imply a degree of gravitas in its governor. Instead, Newsom played troll as if his press office's social media strategy is a way to win overseas accolades. He missed an opportunity to represent his state, but Gavin Newsom's only care is to be the most anti-Trump Democrat in the 2028 presidential field. Get used to it, California. You're now an afterthought in your governor's mind. And he loves to talk a big game, Newsom. I know we're out of time, but courage is something to show, not tell. And that's the opposite of what he did. Instead of working blue, using suggestive language, and giving lectures on getting a spine, Newsom should try sticking up for his own country abroad and sticking to his guns at home. I'd also add that there should be some form of an apology to Macondo, the Nobel Peace Prize winner, because he called her pathetic for giving Trump the Nobel Prize. We're going to go through some attacks in the media, just like Newsom's attack on the president. We're going to go through a couple of those, and we're going to get to the New York State budget. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
An albino baby buffalo was born.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bus.
Day one of the National Glider Competition.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
It's great to catch up, Jamie. How's business?
Good. Are you up to speed with the new beneficial ownership reporting requirements?
Sort of. What's it about?
It's a new initiative to help fight crimes like money laundering, fraud, and drug trafficking. A lot of small businesses like ours just have to report some basic info to the federal government about the real people behind them.
Does that include my cafe?
There are some exemptions for certain companies, but don't worry. There's lots of guidance on the government's website about who needs to file. Check out fincen.gov/BOI. Filing is easy and free. It took me less than 20 minutes.
Looks like I do have to file. Thanks, Jamie. It's great having a supportive business community.
Reporting beneficial ownership information helps protect U.S. national security. Filing is quick, secure, and free. And it's the law. Learn more at fincen.gov/.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, getting ready to wrap up hour number 1. In the next hour, we're going to be talking New York State budget. We're going to be talking with Sammy Sadler. He is a country music performer. He's got a hit out, I Can't Get Close Enough. Single out, I should say, I Can't Get Close Enough by Exile. He also has an amazing story that you're not going to want to miss. That's at the top of the hour. But let's go to some viewer comments. This isn't the first time that Newsom has gone way out of his lane and embarrassed himself. His record is horrible. I agree. He's trying so hard to be the most anti-Trump, because that, in his mind, he's probably not wrong, would win him the primary for president. Because it's going to be the radicals that win in the primary, because all Democrats that can vote. So it's got to be the person that promises to tear down the ballroom as soon as they get in. It's the person that hates Trump. So you're right. He has got out of his lane, outkicked his coverage a few times. He thinks he's better at it than he is. Mark writes into the Bills situation. They should have won that playoff game. It was the refs' bad decision. And I believe McDermott should not have been fired. It was more of a Josh Allen not playing up to expectations. Thank you, Mark. All right. Here's, and I promise, I can't go through them quickly enough. We'll kick off the top of the hour just with some, just show you the bias and the hatred of Trump in the media, just very, very quickly, just because I think it's worth mentioning. Then we will get to the New York State budget. Now, Iran's top diplomat vows to fire back with everything we have if the U.S. attacks over the protest crackdown. We learned in their past attacks, they don't have all that much. They're more of a paper tiger. They kind of embarrass themselves in those attacks. What was that? Earlier last year. But Trump, I don't have time. When we come back, I'll tell you what Trump said if Iran tries to assassinate him. What the next steps would be. That's Trump doing an interview with Katie Pavlik. We'll talk about that when we come back. Then some hatred on Trump from the media, and then we are going to get to the New York State budget. So stay with us. We'll be right back with hour number 2 after this.
You don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Some call for more than a drink. They call for a scotch. Rich, patient, crafted over time. Every bottle tells a story.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Bit drafty in here.
Foster's. Elevate your spirits.
And we welcome you to hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, having great conversations this morning. Coming up in the next segment, we're going to be talking with Sammy Sadler. He is a country music performer. He's got a new song out, and we're going to find out about his history, and it's a wild story. He's got an autobiography out called A Hit with a Bullet. I also wanted to remind you on Friday, coming up this Friday, we'll be talking with Sheriff Jim Allard from Steuben County, of course. We look forward to talking with him. And then next Friday, it's Assemblyman Joe Sempolinski. So we've got busy weeks ahead. We've got other guests that will be popping in occasionally. Those are just the ones set in stone. Okay, as I mentioned before break, President Trump revealed yesterday that he's left very firm instructions for Iran to be blown up if the U.S. adversary makes good on threats to assassinate him. This was on Katie Pavlik tonight. Well, they shouldn't be doing it, Trump said, but I've left notification. If anything ever happens, we're going to blow, the whole country is going to get blown up. Yeah, there you go. He also said, he argued that former President Joe Biden should have said something to the regime to tamp down the threats because they have been threatening to assassinate Trump since 2020. We always said, why isn't Biden saying anything? Because he didn't. But a president has to defend a president. Like if I were here and they were making that threat to somebody, even not even a president, but somebody like they did with me, I would absolutely hit them so hard. But I have very firm instructions. Anything happens, we're going to wipe them off the face of the earth. All right. Oh, and as an update from what I mentioned earlier, and I didn't have it in front of me, businesses, because yesterday we talked about it at the very top of the hour. There were protests in the street, kind of a hodgepodge of issues they were protesting, but it was for the 1-year anniversary of Trump's inauguration for a second term. So there's probably 25-ish people here on Market Street, but I know it was throughout the country. You were supposed to walk out of your place of employment, or you're supposed to walk out of school, and they were supposed to be anti-ICE protests. So I'd mentioned it in reference to the protests going on in Minneapolis about ICE. Businesses and restaurants in Minneapolis are taking a significant financial hit as clashes between anti-ICE agitators and federal agents continue, with some saying the situation feels like the COVID-19 pandemic all over again. The protests have driven away customers hoping to avoid the unrest, leading to reduced foot traffic, temporary closures, and shortened business hours. Well, look at it even too. We had that story for you yesterday. There were some guys that worked in IT. They were trying to get lunch at a restaurant, just relax, and people confused them for members of ICE, and they were attacked. One of the IT members said, I'm anti-ICE. I'm with this group, but this is despicable what they're doing. I'm paraphrasing. This is despicable what they're doing. They're attacking me and attacking our group, and we're not even ICE. But continuing, well, I don't need to go anymore, but they're saying it is very reminiscent of the pandemic when people weren't out in the streets. Okay, I mentioned throughout the broadcast, we're going to go quickly on this, the attacks on Trump. I don't know if you saw his 2-hour press briefing. Well, before that, this is how you know you've become kind of a useful tool, or in politics they call a useful idiot in the Republican Party. If the headline reads, Republican blasts immoral Trump actions after issuing impeachment warnings. So you go, oh, how many Republicans are turning on Trump? It's one guy. Yeah, it's Representative Don Bacon. So he's fallen in the Marjorie Taylor Greene, Liz Cheney avenue of liking the attention, and Newsweek is giving it to him for now. He said Trump's push to acquire Greenland is immoral. And that comes a few days, because now he's finding that niche, a few days after he suggested that President Trump could face impeachment over the matter. That's the headline. Republican blast him. Okay, so let's go with more headlines. So after Trump's White House press briefing that lasted nearly 2 hours, the briefing started at 1:48 p.m., and the president left the podium at 3:33 p.m., and the culmination of the 1 hour and 45-minute engagement with reporters in a jam-packed James S. Brady press briefing room. Trump touted his arrests in Minnesota. We talked about that, including apprehending murderers, drug dealers, and a lot of bad people. Trump displayed flyers featuring pictures of those who have been taken into custody, along with graphics reading Minnesota's worst of the worst. In California, it's worse. In other states, it's worse. Now, Minnesota, the crime is incredible. The financial crimes are incredible. Trump touted the accomplishments of his first year back in office after zoning in on Minnesota, ending Biden's stagflation and growing gross domestic product at warp speed were two areas of accomplishments the president highlighted during his marathon briefing. What we've done with growth is incredible. We created super high economic growth, and America is booming. It's booming. Now I'm going to go through all of this, but so it's a nearly 2-hour press briefing. What did the media have to say? CNN's Jake Tapper, who wrote a book about the fact he thought he was doing it to cover the media's behind, but he wrote a book admitting to the fact that the media did not report on Biden, hid Biden's mental decline. He now says that Trump's press conference is incoherent and frankly bizarre. President Donald Trump, marking 1 full year in office with a marathon rambling, at times incoherent, possibly unsettling White House news briefing, clocked in at about 15 minutes shy of 2 hours. For any supporters of his looking for reassurance that Trump doing wild 1 a.m. social media posts is not the same Trump in the White House, well, they probably weren't reassured. The first hour and change was an entire monologue. The president began by complaining about his public relations, a common complaint of politicians who have horrific poll numbers. Then he started showing off mugshots of people he had said were undocumented migrants who had been apprehended as part of his ramped-up ICE efforts. This all comes amid some reports that the president has privately expressed discomfort over the optics of how some of these ICE raids have been carried out. So behind the scenes, anonymous sources, I see. In between some of Trump's other newsworthy lines, there's plenty of frankly bizarre, rambling moments, including this one where he dug up the past to complain about Joe Biden. Here, I'm not going to play the clip. Here he is indeed. And on the subject of the weaponization of our government, the U.S. Justice Department right now under Trump is investigating the governor and the attorney general of Minnesota and the mayors of Minneapolis and St. Paul for what we don't know. Well, one thing it might be is what you refused to report on, which was the fraud in the Somali daycares. Ty Cobb, who used to work for Trump, claimed Trump had dementia. I did not realize former White House Special Counsel Ty Cobb was a doctor. But he was on, you guessed it, MSN Now. He said, I suspect one of the key guardrails this week, where I hope there is a vigorous debate, is with the Joint Chief of Staffs and the military over what Trump intends to do in Greenland. You know, today he said he wouldn't take force off the table. They asked him how far he was prepared to go. He said, you'll find out. You know, those are not the comments of a rational human being, and certainly not presidential at all. Likewise, yesterday you had the clearly deranged, demented, and insane note that he sent to the leaders of Norway, saying that because Norway, which has no control over the Nobel Peace Prize, hadn't given it to him, that he was free to disregard peace and very interested in Greenland. You know, I don't think there's anybody outside of the U.S. who believes that Trump is sane. I think there's been a significant decline. You know, he's always been driven by narcissism, but I think the dementia and the cognitive decline are palpable, as do many experts, including many physicians. That's generic. Citation needed. Many experts, including many physicians. Who are these experts? Who are these physicians? Other than far-left commentators on MSN Now. Out of the Express, out of the United Kingdom, Trump's health fears soar during bizarre press briefing. So keep in mind, folks, I know this is frustrating to hear, and it gets annoying because we've been hearing it so long. This is the direction they're headed as we head into the midterm. This is how they cannot self-reflect. They can't realize, wow, we didn't cover Biden for 4 years, and now we're going to try to, what was legitimate under Biden, which would have been reporting on his mental decline, we're now going to try to project that onto Trump. And their excuse is, well, you were upset that we didn't report on Biden, so we're going to go with a fine-tooth comb over Trump. A 2-hour press conference. See, it's, again, the media's great at it. Never mind what you're seeing. Believe us. It's kind of, and I think this term is overused, gaslighting, right? We continue. Doctor who treated Dick Cheney calls for congressional inquiry into Trump's presidential fitness. This letter and the fact the president directed that it be distributed to other European countries should trigger a bipartisan congressional inquiry into president's fitness. The Daily Beast, which I know is the far left, but David Rothkamp says now is the time to admit it, America. He's a dangerous lunatic moron. That is the language that is now used by those in the media. Investigate, impeach, block, demonstrate that there will be consequences for those who are enabling this insanity. Not just words, actions. Patriotic Americans, our friends worldwide, and anyone with a sense of decency or of the dangers currently afoot need to work together right now to create the legislative, diplomatic, and legal straitjacket that is the only way to contain this madman until he is no longer a threat. Now, we know it's language like that led to, well, at least 2 assassination attempts on the president. But again, this is how unhinged the media is becoming. While calling Trump unhinged, look at the kind of frothing at the mouth with their anger. Now they're pushing conspiracy theories again as we near the midterms. The Insurrection Act could be a dress rehearsal for interfering in the midterms, according to James Zinn at The Hill. Does Trump see the deployment of the military in Minnesota as a dress rehearsal for the armed forces policing key polling places to intimidate voters and seize voting machines? A slippery slope is always dangerous, and a slippery slope from a fragile democracy to authoritarianism is a real red flag for all of us. And finally, is it finally? 2 last things. It is morally acceptable for U.S. troops to disobey orders, according to an archbishop. We had that kind of the Catholic response yesterday. Archbishop Timothy Broglio saying that it would be morally acceptable for troops to disobey orders that violate their conscience. Wow, that would make for a strong military if they get to just pick and choose when they don't obey orders. That's scary. Finally, Jim Acosta spoke with Jennifer Welch on a podcast called I've Had It, and essentially admitted what we can see if Democrats get the majority at the midterm. He predicts Democrats will expand the Supreme Court, prosecute Trump when they regain power, and Elon Musk. The blue tsunami means that Congress is going to haul Elon Musk and a bunch of other people's blanks in front and say, what crimes did you commit? And it's going to get real serious. And the same with Trump, because I believe, and this is my opinion, that Trump and all the bottom-feeding morons surrounding him, and Elon Musk and all the bottom-feeding clingerons that surround him, I think they commit crimes every day. And I think to reconcile all of this is going to take hardcore, not integrity Democrats, blank you Democrats, with that mentality. We are serious about this. We are prosecuting. We're going to uncover every document, every phone call, everything you did. We will relentlessly be about it. And that's the mindset that they've got to have, because I think the electorate is going from we've got to get him out, but also we want accountability. There you go. Enough on that. Okay. When we come back, Sammy Sadler will be our guest. After that, we will be talking the New York State budget, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Oh, by the way, did you see Democrats are outraged that Kamala Harris has bought a brand new $8 million Malibu mansion? Something doesn't seem quite right about this. A Democrat consultant saying she's not someone who likes being out and about. She doesn't really want to engage with people in a way that's isn't already orchestrated, but her absence has been really notable and some people very offensive. So they want her out there more, which I thought she was doing a huge book tour is what the media kept telling us, but apparently not. All right, I know. I'm trying to go through too many things quickly. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Sammy Sadler after this. This is Frankly Speaking.
Some people who need Social Security disability benefits go to their hearing alone and get turned down. Not every lawyer will appeal a denial after your hearing. I will. I'm Peter Gorton of Lockman & Gorton. I help people win benefits by appealing their denials, including in federal court. But your time to appeal is limited, so call my office now.
Lockman & Gordon, 1-800-698-0567.
In Albany, Buffalo, was born.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bus.
Day 1 of the National Glider Competition.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
In the corners of our country, everyday people with a love for the outdoors are leaving the world a little better than they found it. With no recognition or pat on the back, the reward is the rustle of leaves, the ripple of water, the call of the wild. These are the unsung heroes of the wetlands. Everyday people investing their time, their resources, and their hearts into conservation. They are the stewards of our most precious resources, ensuring that the magic of the outdoors lives on for future generations. Ducks Unlimited relies on the hard work and support of these individuals. Without their dedication, our mission to protect these vital ecosystems for those who draw inspiration and sustenance from them would remain out of reach. Join Ducks Unlimited and become part of a community of outdoor enthusiasts committed to preserving our wetlands for the next generations of unsung heroes. A public service from Ducks Unlimited.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting from the Hesselson studio and in that virtual studio this morning. Sammy, thanks so much for being on the program.
Man, Frank, thank you for having me on this morning. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Well, you've got a lot going on. Let's talk a little bit about I Can't Get Close Enough. What's it like working with Exile?
You know, man, I mean, it was just one of those moments, you know. I mean, I've loved Exile ever since I was a kid and,
Sure.
you know, grew up on a lot of that music, you know, and then to, you know, record one of their biggest hits and then to have those guys come in and have the iconic voices
right
on the record with me, man, is just something I'll never forget, and I'll be thankful for those guys forever, man.
Yeah. What's the reaction been so far?
You know, it's been really good. You know, Sonny and them shared it to their social medias and stuff, and we got some great feedback and everything off of their social media, and we've just had great comments on it, you know, and I'm just so thankful that people are liking it. And you know, if some people have never heard the record or never heard you know, the group Exile, that's another reason that I did the song. If somebody hadn't heard of those guys, you know, that maybe they would find them along with finding my music as well.
And what goes in, and I know you've got other songs coming out very soon, what goes into your decision to record a song?
Well, I just try to find songs, Frank, that fit me and that move me. And, you know, if they move me, then I feel like, you know, I'll be able to relay that on to the audience and, you know, something that they know that, hey, man, this guy's not selling out just to cut a song. I mean,
Right.
He really feels it and emotions in it, and I hope that that's what comes across, and I hope that's what somebody sees and feels.
What would you say, for those that maybe aren't familiar with your music, how would you describe your sound?
I'm just an 80s, 90s country singer. If you love 80s and 90s country music, man, that's who I am.
You found it right there. Beautiful.
Yeah, that's it.
Now, obviously, and for those who may not be aware, you have a really unique story. I don't know how much you like to talk about it, but I know that there was a great article by Forbes back in October, by the way. What a wonderful, and tell us a little bit, because people can buy your autobiography. Tell us a little bit about A Hit with a Bullet, if you don't mind.
Well, I've got a book out called A Hit with a Bullet, The Real Murder on Music Row, and if people don't know that or know anything about it, it's out for sale on Amazon, or you can get it on, if you don't like reading books, you can get it on digital to where you can listen to it. Or if you want to get an autographed copy, you can go to my website at sammysadler.com, and I'll autograph a copy of the book there to you and send it to you. But the book, Frank, is about my life and about what I've lived through and what I've come through.
Right.
If people don't know, you may have heard a song by George Strait and Alan Jackson called Murder on Music Row.
Yeah.
And that song is, they're talking about country music dying on Music Row, but it really, there really was a murder on Music Row, and I believe that's where the guys got that idea to write that song that George Strait and Alan Jackson recorded. There was a real murder in 1989 down on Music Row, and my friend Kevin Hughes was shot and murdered. I was shot and left for dead.
Wow.
And it's known around the world as the murder on Music Row. And at that time, my friend Kevin Hughes was a chart manager for Cashbox magazine, which Cashbox in those days was a big rivalry to Billboard.
Right.
And he was a chart manager of where the top 100 records move on the charts. And tragically, he was shot and murdered. I was shot and left for dead. And it took him 13 and a half years to solve the crime and the case. And it ended up being some record promoters involved in it and what it was all about. Kevin, they were trying to pay Kevin money underneath the table to move the records up the charts, and he was an honest man, wouldn't take the money, and he got shot and killed over it.
Wow. What an amazing... Is this something... I know there's been, like, for lack of a better word, documentaries or, like, things recorded about it. Has it ever been put into the idea of a movie?
You know, well, I mean, obviously we've done all the crime deals and Court TV,
Right.
Nancy Grace, Unsolved Mysteries, all that stuff, but there's been some people talking to us, you know, on and off for the last 2 or 3 years here, but it's never really turned into anything yet, you know, and I'm just so grateful and thankful that I'm still here and I'm still alive. At the time, I didn't know it. Kevin and I had only been friends for about 7 or 8 months, and I found out Kevin was a Christian, and I wasn't a Christian at that time. And so for God to think enough of me and save me and bring me through all this, I'm just so grateful and thankful. And, you know, it's a terrible thing that Kevin and his family had to go through, and they lost a son and a brother.
Right.
But he died for being an honest man, and I know that he's in a better place, and he wouldn't come back now if he could.
Wow. Would you say writing that book, I mean, because you dealt with it, you lived through it, was it cathartic? Was it difficult? What kind of emotions go through that?
It was both. I mean, it was an emotional. This past year, I was finally able to go through some of the records that were down at the police station of what they've got left of them. They said a lot of them's gotten lost and gotten ruined and all this other stuff. But I finally, going through some of the stuff that we went through, I saw the pictures of Kevin for the first time on the crime scene that night, and it just it really tore me up, and it really hurt me to see him like that, and you know, just a shame that he had to go through that and had to die that way.
What an amazing and just fascinating story. So you lived through that, you overcome that. Why then get back into the music scene that was really so negative towards you at that point?
Well, you know, I've never really left the music business, Frank. I took a little break for a little while, but I moved back to Texas after the shooting. It took me 2.5 years to get back up on my feet. I had to have 2 major operations. I didn't know how bad I was hurt the night that I got shot, but I ended up having a main artery severed in my arm. They had to graft and put a new artery in my arm from my leg, and then I had to. Thank God I still had my arm attached when I woke up.
Yeah.
But it was the size of about 2 or 3 basketballs. Is how swollen it was, and then I had to have a second operation about 6 months later to have a nerve graft done in it, and I moved back to Texas after that and came back to my home and my roots just to recover and to recoup, and I never moved back to Nashville. Put a new band together after all that, went back out on the road and started playing shows again, and we've never really left the music business. I mean, it's a fire and a passion inside me, and it's a gift that God gave me, and I'm going to use, and I'm still going to pursue my career and continue to pursue my career that God gave me so long ago.
When was it that you originally decided that this was going to be the choice for you, that a music career was going to be your life?
Well, I chose that in an early age.
Yeah.
You know, I chose that when I was growing up in school, you know, and that's never changed. Unfortunately, you know, I've had some detours and things, and I ended up learning a family business that me and my dad had, and I remember doing a show with Eddie Raven one time, and Eddie said, "Sammy, always have another business or something to fall back on until your break comes in this music business." And you know, my career has not been an easy ride, and it's not been easy for me, and you know, we're still here just like anyone else. You know, I came to Nashville just like anybody else to be a singer, and to try to have success, and I'm still doing that. And you know, I've got a lot of things to be proud of. I've shared the stage with many artists, and and I got to perform for a lot of different people and a lot of different audiences. And you know, success to me is not based on, well, if you got a hit record, or if you got a string of hit records.
Right.
Success to me is being able to do what you love to do, and God has blessed me and let me do some of the things. And obviously, would I love to have a hit record? Sure, but if that's not in the cards for me, if I can go out here, play my music and do my shows and share my story, and if I can show somebody what I've been through, I don't know what people are going through out there in their lives,
Right.
but if I can show them and somebody look at me and say, man, that guy survived all this and came through that, whatever you're going through out there, the same thing can happen to you. Call on the name of Jesus. He's right there with you, and he'll bring you through it.
When you, because we're talking about the single "I Can't Get Close Enough," which is out now, would you rather be in the studio or would you rather be in front of a live audience?
You know, I love going in the studio and you know, cutting records. That's the easiest part of it to me. But I really love going out on the road, and I really love performing for the people and being able to meet new people and to meet new fans. And you know, when you meet those guys and they connect with you and they become a fan, they're a fan for life.
Right.
And you know, it's just a special bond that entertainers have with their fans, and we just so appreciate people liking our music and following us and you know, showing up for us whenever we come out.
And you mentioned you've played with a lot of people, and we talked about Exile being on this album. Is there anybody, kind of, if you had your dream pick, that you could play with right now?
Oh my gosh, man! I mean, well, I was an Elvis freak whenever I grew up and I was young, you know. So that would definitely be one of the top deals for me to be able to play with Elvis. You know, I know that probably would never happen even if he was still alive. But man, I loved his music, man, and he was my first really musical influence.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask. I always like to hear influences because sometimes it surprises you. So Elvis, a big influence. Did you have others that maybe, not that Elvis didn't have obviously that country sound a lot, but was there anybody else that kind of led you into the business you're in now?
Well, you know, like I said, Elvis was my first really big musical influence, and then as I grew and got older, I started listening to country music, and obviously, you know, Merle Haggard, George Jones, Johnny Cash, Marty Robbins, just on and on, you know, man. There's just so many influence guys that's influenced me in my music, and I'm just so glad I grew up really in that era, because I believe that, you know, the 70s, 80s, and 90s country music is some of the best music ever made. Yeah,
and it's so different. I know people have these conversations all along. It's not a negative, but it's just so different now when you turn on country radio as compared to even 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. You know, today's country music, you know, and everybody's got their opinion.
Sure.
You know, my opinion, it's not country music.
Right.
It's, you know, it's kind of rap and rock and roll and whatever you want to put it. It's not country music. It's not country music that I knew and I grew up on. And, you know, to each and to everybody's own of what they do. But for me, you know, that 70s, 80s, and 90s country music is who I am and who I'll always be. And that's who I represent. And if you come see a Sammy Sadler show, you're going to get that kind of music that kind of sound. And hopefully you'll like it and appreciate what I still try to do.
Isn't it interesting? Because a long time ago when I was on radio, I interviewed Whispering Bill Anderson, and he said back in the early days it wasn't really an affectionate nickname, country and kind of hillbilly music, and now, and fast forward to today, and everybody's kind of trying to steal that label that they're country.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. It's a little strange.
Yeah, it is. A lot's changed. Well, speaking of change, when you first got in the industry, how much has it changed for you? I mean, you look at it now, social media is such an important aspect to it.
Yeah, I mean, back then they didn't have social media. We didn't have computers. We didn't have all this stuff. I mean, I remember back in the early 90s, you know, I had probably, I think at one time I had close to 2,900 people in my fan club, which you know, back then that was a lot to me, you know. I mean, but today, you know, I mean, if you don't, everybody thinks everybody's all about social media numbers and all of this stuff, and what it really ought to be about is the music and the people, not how many fans and not how many numbers it is. It ought to be about the music, and it ought to be about the people that's doing the music.
Now we're talking, I Can't Get Close Enough, Exile. That's out now, and I know you've got a lot coming up in the very near future. What do you have coming up next?
Well, I've got a brand new album that we've got finished, and I've got one or two other songs that we're trying to finish up to see if we're going to put that on the album. If I do, then it'll either have 12 songs or 10 songs on it. Okay. I hadn't made that choice yet, but we've just got two more to finish up, and then we've already got the next single and the video done, okay. And we're going to be seeing when we're going to be trying to come out with the next single video.
Is it difficult to pick whether, it seems like you'd want all the songs on, so is it difficult to cut to?
You know, it is. I went back, you know, and John Wesley Riles was a friend of mine, and John Wesley just recently passed away not too long ago. And when I was in Nashville cutting these songs, there are two of John. One of them's a John Wesley song, and I heard that he was sick whenever I was there recording, and I called him that night and left a message on his phone. And the next day, his wife Joni, which is Conway Twitty's daughter, she had texted me and said that John wasn't doing well, and I hadn't talked to him in about a year and a half, and it was just ironic that I was in Nashville at that time recording that song and find out about it and send him messages and stuff, and then just a couple of days later he passed away. So this song is going to be a special song for me, and I will probably be putting it on the album, and it'll probably make the album. So you know, it's just kind of ironic stuff, you know, happening there, but I want to put that song on there to keep John Wesley's memory on it, and it's just a great song as well.
Well, you've got, like I said, you've got a lot coming up. Obviously, you said a new album. Check the single out, I Can't Get Close Enough. Where can and the book, of course, that we mentioned, Hit with a Bullet. Where can people find out more?
They can go to my website, Frank, at SammySadler.com, and keep up with us there. If you go on Facebook, do not go to the blue check mark Facebook. That is not my page. I've been hacked there. Go to Sammy Sadler Official, and that is my new Facebook page. So follow me there on that and Twitter, and go to my YouTube, like and share. All you guys that go and do that helps us tremendously. So, you know, find me up, SammySadler.com, Sammy Sadler Official Facebook. Go to my YouTube. Share and like all of my stuff, and if you want a copy of my book, as I said earlier, go to SammySadler.com, get it there. I'll autograph that copy to you, or you can go to Amazon, or you can go to the digital and download it and listen to it there.
Wow, that's great. Well, you'll have to make it up our way one of these days. Tour up here in New York when it gets warmer.
Love to, man. I definitely got to come in the summertime.
That's right. Well, let's talk again soon. I'd love to talk to you after the next single.
Frank, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having the time to talk to me.
Of course.
And God bless you and your show and all the fans that listen to you and support you. And we just thank you for giving us a voice and telling our stories and playing our music for us.
Well, thank you so much. We'll do it again soon. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Hi, this is Tom Witzel, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is the start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
We said we'd never break the 3-second rule. We'd never make a separate dinner. And never do that. We'd never let them sleep in our room. And never become a minivan mom.
Hey, Chris. Okay, well, I'm not at my desk right now.
As parents, we say never a lot, but never happens. So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, know it can happen. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
Whether it's our stories, the warmth of our laugh, or our family's secret sauce. We all bring something different to the table. So make some space. The power of connection is waiting right outside your comfort zone. Learn how you can help strengthen your community at belongingbeginswithus.org/teamup.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Let's go to some viewer comments. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. Yes, I am sure Denmark is totally serious about defending Greenland. After all, NATO brought in 37 troops. It's got President Trump shaking in his boots. Thank you very much. Coming from a different viewer. Good interview, Frank. What I just pulled up, some of Sammy's music sounds really good. Keep it up, Sammy. Good job. Thank you very much for that. Mark writes in, I saw Dr. Oz on TV reporting on blue states illegally treating illegals with government funding, and those blue states are under investigation. Thank you. And to further that, and Mark continues, and to further that, drug prices are the lowest they have ever been thanks to Trump, but the media doesn't report on that. Thank you, Mark. Comment from a different viewer. Wait a minute. I thought that in spite of the fact that the Democrats used weaponization, that they are supposed to be against it and have accused Trump of such. But when they get power, which hopefully they will never do again, it's okay to use it again? Go figure. Yes, exactly. That's what they admitted in that podcast, essentially. Comment from a different viewer. The media will continue to fan the flames with contentious Trump badgering. The constant negative comments are no longer about reporting the news. It's about supporting the Democratic Party. Thank God for shows like Frankly Speaking. It's what reporting is supposed to be. Well, hey, that's awful nice of you. Thank you. Very nice way to kick off my day. Appreciate it. Ken writes in, Frank, what an upside-down world the sheeple live in. I feel sorry for them, being propagandized into believing that a president who gives long speeches is demented and delusional. Closing the border is bad. Deporting criminals and people illegally in this country is bad. ICE and police are bad. Reducing the price of gas is bad. Stealing taxpayer money is not a big deal. Reducing drug prices is not a big deal. Reducing the amount of illegal drugs coming into our country is bad. Equalizing trade deals with tariffs to bring jobs back to America and increase employment is bad. Spending billions of dollars on social programs for illegal immigrants is good, without being able to rationally explain why Trump is generally bad. The sheeple's Trump derangement syndrome and Republican derangement syndrome is caused by the corrupt legacy media, and sadly for the sheeple's mental health, that will never change unless the legacy media is held accountable for spreading misinformation and outright lies. But again, sadly for all Americans, that will never happen. Thank you, Ken. So the New York State budget, by the way, did you see Governor Hochul is raising millions of dollars? We talked about it yesterday for her reelection. She isn't saying who she's meeting with. Hochul vetoes a public records bill, leaving the new era of transparency still pending. She will not talk about her schedule. She denies requests for a release of her schedule, not in the future, but her past, where she's been in the past few weeks. It raises some red flags, something to keep in mind. So what's inside Hochul's $260 billion Don't Worry, Be Happy spending plan? Well, according to the New York Post, and we're going to hear from Assemblyman Phil Palmisano, Assemblyman Joe Sempolinski, and Senator Tom O'Mara here in just a second before we take our break. But Governor Hochul was pretty open about her approach in drawing up the $260 billion budget she rolled out yesterday. Spend it while you've got it. The state's long-term fiscal challenges persist, warned Comptroller Tom DiNapoli, yet spending growth remains above inflation. He flagged the heightened uncertainty in the economy and the prospect of even more cuts in federal aid to New York. Don't worry, Hochul all but said. Revenues are up, so it's time to spend, spend, spend. Betting that Wall Street will continue to shed big profits and fat bonuses for the state tax man, she and Budget Director Blake Washington want to boost state funding outlays by 5.7%, or more than twice inflation. So be happy. Yet Medicaid funding alone is to rise 11.4% and school funding 4.3%, even though New York already spends more per resident on both categories than any other state, and school enrollments are falling. The plan isn't about budgeting for New York's future prosperity. It's about boosting Hochul's re-election drive. Prudence and restraint would jeopardize her standing with the left. particularly fans of Mamdani. She's scared of a challenger from the Democrat Socialist of America. She's scared that her primary challenger already, her former Lieutenant Governor Delgado, is starting to get a little bit of traction with the Democrat Socialists of America, so she's worried about that as well. Maybe she's got some concern about Blakeman. But not that the tax the rich mayor is exactly content. It's time to ask New York City's wealthiest and largest corporations to pay their fair share, she huffed after she dropped her plan. Boy, that's got to get old. That is the only line, especially in New York, but even at the federal level, when the government wants to waste more money. Let's face it. Look at what happened in Minnesota and the fraud and the corruption going on there with that kind of money. You know it's happening in New York. We just haven't done the investigation. So their excuse is always that the wealthy aren't paying their fair share. But if you look at just the statistics on that, they absolutely are paying their fair share. But I'll continue. Never mind, the governor aims to shell out $4.5 billion to support Mamdani's push for universal child care. Never mind that she essentially does raise taxes on businesses by extending a corporate tax surcharge that was set to expire this year for 3 more years, scarfing up about a hefty $1.3 billion a year. Even so, Albany still faces a $27.5 billion cash shortfall through 2030. And the legislature will insist one more unaffordable outlay than in her plan, as it does every year. Yeah, so add more to it. They always do. Hochul's plan is to worry about all that after she's reelected in November. But whether or not she wins, regular New Yorkers still get stuck with the bill. She also pushes to tax these various nicotine products like Zyn. Kathy Hochul is pushing a plan to tax Zyn pouches and other nicotine products at the same rate as cigarettes. Under Hochul's proposed $260 billion state budget, the patches would face the same 75% wholesale tax as cigarettes, and a move expected to generate $18 million in the fiscal year beginning April 1st. They always look to nicotine products as cash cows. The new tax would also generate $44 million when fully implemented the following year, according to Hochul's proposal, according to Hochul. But the new tax on pouches raises serious concerns from both a public health and affordability standpoint, said Zyn manufacturer Philip Morris. Zyn was the first nicotine pouch approved for sale by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. Smoking rates are highest among low-income and less educated households, said Philip Morris. Those adults deserve access to better alternatives, and studies show that placing a tax on this magnitude makes it harder for adults to switch off cigarettes. Okay, also we saw that she shied away from rolling back criminal justice reforms like raise the age. Mission accomplished, she said. We got them done. Governor Hochul provided a baffling defense yesterday for not tackling any major public safety issues, notably the state's raise the age law. We talked about this. We talked about it with Sheriff Schramm not that long ago. But the young lives that have been destroyed because of this raise the age law, how many young people being recruited into gangs because there are no real consequences. Of course, there are real world consequences, but not prison time. They're essentially put into family court. We have already dealt with many criminal justice reforms that others didn't think we'd be able to accomplish, including people in this room, Hochul told reporters. We did it. So I don't need to revisit the same reforms. We got them done. So look at what's been accomplished, she further bragged. So according to her, and remember, look how good Lee Zeldin did. This is why it's such a shame that Stefanik isn't in there. Zeldin did such a good job last time of running on public safety. She's telling you now there is no concern for public safety. She fixed it. The reforms are all done because there are no concerns about public safety. That raise the age law, bail reform, cashless bail, essentially. Now, this stands in contrast to critics who argue the raise the age law needs to be fixed or rolled back. And even some in their own party, because they saw the destruction that happened in Albany on July 4th weekend, where young people were involved in flare shootings and just a lot of crazy and wild things. The law raised New York's age of criminal responsibility to 18, barring 16 and 17-year-olds from initially being tried as adults for most non-felonies. But since it was enacted in 2019, along with other criminal justice reforms, many prosecutors and police officials, including Jessica Tisch, argued it's to blame for rising violence being committed by and against youths. Rensselaer County District Attorney Mary Pat Donnelly said when Raise the Age was enacted, the original sponsors acknowledged that the law should be revisited and that adjustments might need to be considered at future dates. In the nearly 9 years that have passed since Raise the Age first became effective, we have seen limitations and shortcomings in the laws, as well as inconsistencies in how the law is interpreted. Good public policy dictates a thorough examination of Raise the Age and how the state is investing in youth services and crime prevention. The District Attorneys Association, which was instrumental in pushing last year's reforms to the discovery laws, said it wants public hearings and a continued discourse with Hochul and the legislature to re-examine Raise the Age with an eye towards meaningful changes. Many progressives, however, contend the real issue is $1 billion in unspent funds to support programs that keep youths out of trouble. Yes, that $1 billion is going to solve the youth crime problem when gangs are recruiting young people with a lot of promises. Not necessarily promises capped, but promises, money, you get it. Prestige. Advocates with a coalition to protect Raise the Age argue that the Empire State should not go back to the days when it was one of just 2 states that automatically tried 16 and 17-year-olds as adults. Hochul on Tuesday did allude to inserting some surprise policy items in the middle of the budget talks, which are set to trudge on until at least the spending plan's due date on April 1st. I would not look at this as a final document, she said. When we come back, we're going to hear from Joe Semplinsky, Phil Palmisano, Tom O'Mara on the budget. Keep those comments, keep those waves coming in. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
If anyone knows the joy of rescuing animals, it's me. Just ask my rescues, who are all very important members of my family. Your life can also be forever changed by adopting a shelter pet. And it's not just about happiness your pet gets from finding a loving home, but that which you'll get from bringing them into your life. The heroes at American Humane have been helping animals for more than 140 years, whether it's rescuing animals caught in disasters, ensuring the safety of animal stars on screen, or protecting our planet's endangered species. They go above and beyond to further their mission and make the world a kinder place for animals. Please consider adopting a shelter pet and support American Humane. You can learn more at AmericanHumane.org.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio, talking about the New York State budget. Assemblyman Phil Palmisano, who will be on the program shortly. I will get you the exact date here soon. We're sending some things in stone, but he will be joining us to recap the state of the state and the budget. He said the governor just proposed the largest budget in state history, coming in at more than $250 billion with a projected 3-year budget gap of more than $27 billion. As usual, this budget seems to be filled with more misplaced priorities, out-of-control spending, and debt. In fact, this is insulting to the millions of New Yorkers who have to make difficult decisions and cuts to their families' budgets just to see the state continue to increase its own. The governor and Albany Democrats think taxpayer money belongs to them and continue to create undue financial stress on the hardworking taxpayers of this state because they fail to recognize it's the people's money. Under one-party rule, the cost of living has gone up and outmigration in New York is second in the nation, despite the governor claiming she has a handle on the affordability and quality of life crisis. If the governor really wanted to address this issue, she would cut taxes and spending and put forth a budget that addresses the concerns of all New Yorkers instead of catering to the socialist and progressive wing of her party. The legislature will now conduct public budget hearings through the month of February, where we will examine the proposed budget and question the governor's agency commissioners. department heads, and community stakeholders to evaluate the impact of her proposals on New Yorkers. I will continue to push for fiscal responsibility, public safety, lower taxes, less red tape, as well as oppose the costly green energy mandates, and will prioritize a common sense energy agenda that prioritizes affordability, reliability, feasibility, safety, fuel, diversity, and energy choice. That's Assemblyman Phil Palmisano. Also, well, I can read Joe Sempolinski's here really quickly. Assemblyman Joe Sempolinski, former congressman. He said the governor talks a lot about making New York more affordable, but then she rolls out $260 billion budget, her second budget of more than $250 billion. This budget will only make New York a harder place to live, to work, to raise a family, and do business. I think it's important to point out that the budget, as bad as it is as good as it's going to get. The budget will only go up from here as far-left members of the Democrat majority push for more spending. That's a good point. Once they get back into session, the one-party rule, they will be pushing more for the Democrat Socialist of America's agenda. Sempolinski continues, our spending in New York is out of control. We spend nearly as much as Florida and Texas combined, two states with larger populations than New York. We are hemorrhaging people and businesses because of budgets like this. If we want to make New York a more affordable, attractive place for people and businesses, and if we want to keep the people and businesses we have, we need a responsible state budget that cuts spending, taxes, and regulation. It's irresponsible. She's just hoping that this money, will materialize. In fact, Governor Hochul's own division of the budget is projecting a $34.3 billion 3-year budget cap. Eventually, that bill will come due, and New York taxpayers will be stuck paying for it. Thank you to Joe Sempolinski. We're going to take one more break and wrap up today's edition. Get your last-second comments in. We're going to wrap up our conversation on the state budget that Hochul produced yesterday. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
An albino baby buffalo was born.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bus.
Day one of the National Glider Competition.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
Dear Winter, we're coming. Our squad of vehicles, with all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, is ready to take you on. Safety's the name of our game. Bundle up. Toyota.
Right now, you can lease Tacoma for just $259 a month or get 2.99% APR for a full 72 months on a new Tundra. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota. Let's go places.
When a child is fighting a critical illness, one truth touches us all. Every child deserves a childhood. A wish sparks a ripple of hope that transforms communities far and wide. And when we grant wishes together, we create a movement of kindness, strength, and unity. Become a wish maker today and be part of a journey that
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, talking about Governor Hochul's proposed New York State budget. State Senator Tom O'Mara said Governor Hochul and Albany Democrats can't stop spending. It has been out of control, irresponsible, and even shocking. Despite all the warning signs, Governor Hochul keeps feeding a spend, spend, spend addiction that will never make New York more affordable. It will keep driving hardworking taxpayers and middle-class families out of the state. It will keep killing jobs and strangling local economy. Throughout the era of total one-party control of the state's purse strings, Albany Democrats have ignored the affordability crisis, ignored the overriding need for mandate relief and regulatory reform, ignored the need for common-sense energy policies, ignored the demand for permanent, broad-based tax relief, and ignored the need for more responsible and efficient government that targets fraud and waste. Instead, the Democrats' spending plan over the past several years has been just that, a one-party, far-left vision for spending billions upon billions of taxpayer dollars. The Albany Democrats' spending addiction has put in place massive long-term spending commitments, including massive commitments looming in their pursuit of radical climate and other agendas that will never be affordable or sustainable for state and local taxpayers, small businesses and manufacturers, and continually hard-pressed upstate communities, economies, and workers. Can taxpayers even begin to go on affording it in a state that's already one of the highest taxed and least affordable in the nation? Why is there no focus on taking a good, hard, renewed look at the cost of government to ensure it's being run affordably, efficiently, legally, and responsibly, and the taxpayer dollars aren't being ripped off? Oh, there you go. That's the end of the quote. Thank you to State Senator Tom O'Mara. Betsy McKay, who I guess is running for governor in Connecticut. Did I read that right? She's former lieutenant governor of New York. She said how spendaholic Kathy Hochul is dooming New York to loser status. In 2026, 8 states are cutting their income taxes and 4 others are reducing corporate tax rates. And she goes through to tell about some of those states. But that's bad news for New York. Saddled with a spendaholic governor and legislature, the Empire State is becoming increasingly unattractive to newcomers and businesses alike. And then she talks about yesterday's budget. She believes the state's tax structure is working right now. She's got her head in the sand. Over the last decade, New York has suffered more population loss than every state but California, and job losses too. Why? High taxes. Millions of Americans fled the 10 states with the highest tax burdens in that time, while millions relocated to the 10 lowest tax states. New York ranks 50 out of 50, dead last in economic performance. That's not an act of nature, but the result of decisions by Hochul and the other tax-addicted politicians. New York doesn't have to continue its decline. That's a path out of this. There's a path out of this mess. Since 2021, 27 states have adopted major tax cuts to increase their competitiveness and business appeal. Hochul should look around and see how other states are outcompeting what was once the Empire State. When people flee high-tax states, they take their money and the state's tax base with them. By cutting tax rates often yields a gradual increase in revenue as tax-paying companies and workers move in. That's the path forward for New York and other tax-crazy states. Governor Kim Reynolds of Iowa has shown us how it can be done, and she goes through to give the numbers. But New York is all but out of the running, ranking 49th for business friendliness, keeping company with deep blue states like Illinois, New Jersey, and California. In her State of the State address last week, Hochul boasted about building an economy that works for all. It's untrue. The figures don't lie. New York is lagging way behind the rest of the nation. Quote, if you're betting on the future, you need to bet on New York, she said. Cut taxes, Governor, and we'll take that bet. That does it for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. I want to thank everybody who joined us, all the comments, all the questions. Oh, we missed a couple here. Good morning. I guess that this is more of a rant than anything else. Yesterday, I went to the grocery store and picked up a handful of items. Went to the checkout line, and a woman in front of me with a cart full of soda and chips and junk food pulls out an EBT card. It's disgusting that I can only afford necessary food. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Did anyone think it would be any different? Seriously, they've been showing us what they are and what they are doing for we the people. Is that, I assume that means the budget. I apologize if not. And Ken writes in, we are looking at the state spending money all wrong. If the state spends money in the state, that money will go into people's pockets and they will buy stuff and the taxes will go back to the state. So the state can have even more money to spend, which will make even more money for the state. Soon New York will be the richest state in the country. I like your logic, Ken. I appreciate that. Oh my goodness. Sorry, I'm completely out of time and I see all these great comments coming in. I do apologize. We will read them at the top of the program tomorrow. But that does it for today's edition. Have a great day, everyone, and we will be back every weekday morning starting at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV Big Fox. See you tomorrow bright and early. Look forward to it already.
So New York Lottery's new extra multiplier ticket multiplies your winnings up to 100 times.
I won.
What are you gonna do with all those Benjamins?
For Ben?
Oh. Great form, Benjamin.
Thank you, Maya.
Benjamin, tip.
Play New York Lottery's extra multiplier scratch-off games for chances to multiply your Benjamins between 10 and 100 times. Prizes up to $3 million.
I can't wait to spend each and every one of you.